Hello and welcome to the Cryptosi Gallery Artist Interviews. This is a short series of interviews with some of the artists which will be displaying in the Cryptosi Gallery, which is a very special gallery located in Decentraland initially. We may be branching out to other platforms, but initially just Decentraland. And we get to meet the artists and we discuss a few of their art pieces. And I am absolutely honoured and delighted to be joined for our maiden voyage by the man himself, Lewis Peake. Lewis, how are you, sir?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm very good. Thanks for inviting me to do this.
Oh no, it's been great. It's been great discussing with you recently and watching your journey into crypto and I'm like quite interested in the art that you do as well, so it works out perfectly for both of us. So thank you for giving up your time, and thanks for displaying at the gallery, obviously. So what we wanted to do, I'm just going to describe this for the watchers. What we wanted to really do is first I want to ask Lewis a few bits about himself, his art, what inspired him, X, Y, and Z. And then we're going to actually look at two of Lewis's art pieces that will actually be available in the gallery once the exhibition launches. So we'll get his views on the art pieces, how they've come about, what's inspired them, what they mean to him, and then we'll get a little bit of I guess, an insight into what Lewis has got planned for the future. So, Lewis, if you're ready, we can get started.
Yeah, ready when you are.
Okay, so first of all, Lewis Peake. Who is Lewis Peake? Where are you from? What are your interests? Tell us a bit about yourself.
I am an artist, illustrator, and filmmaker. I'm from Finsbury Park in North London, but now I live in Swanage in the Isle of Purbeck in Dorset on the southwest coast. It's very beautiful here, bit different to London, but it's very inspiring. The clouds looking incredible tonight, and feel very, very lucky being down here. We moved here because when my wife was pregnant, we just thought let's try something completely different, and we shirked it for ages. We're like, no, let's not do that. And then eventually we just thought, let's do it. Let's move to Swanage, yeah. And it's strange being here, but it kind of makes sense as well.
A massive change from the bright lights in the big city that is London.
Yeah. When I go and stay with my family in London, I'm just amazed at the kind of ambient noise. There's constant traffic and machines just buzzing around the whole time, and it's kind of weird because I actually like it. It's what I'm used to, what I'm used to falling asleep to, and Finsbury Park is a very noisy place, so I'm used to that almost like white noise in the background. Yeah.
But now that you've moved to a quieter place, you feel that now do you feel you're more creative now that you've got things are a bit slower around you, or do you feel that you're maybe less creative because there's not so much input that you're seeing day to day?
I feel like I'm a new person down here, and but it's kind of there's a bit of balancing act that needs to happen because I've just had a new baby boy, and he's 9 months old now. And I've also got a 4-year-old daughter, and just juggling parenting, jobs as they come and go, and my own artwork is a tricky skill. So I'm on one hand, I'm raring to go and want to always be producing some kind of work, creating something, but it's juggling the time with my partner, who's also an artist, and being with the kids, which is number one priority.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, being a father myself, I know that the struggle is real. But that was a perfect segue really into my next question is your art style. So could you describe your art style? It's a good time to mention now that the background image that we're using is actually another one of Lewis's pieces. But yeah, Lewis, could you describe your art style and how you've been influenced and whatnot?
Yeah, it really, these questions really kind of give me a chance to really reflect on what I'm trying to do, you know, as an artist, and it's really interesting because I think 90% of what I'm doing is very clean, detailed, highly polished CGI stuff at the moment, and that's just been a kind of dominated my practice because I've put so much effort into learning these new skills, learning this new software over the last kind of 10 years, really, that that it's something that I've just kind of pushed and pushed and pushed. But whilst that's happening, I'm also doing digital painting, which is kind of more kind of expressive and sketchy. And then right at the beginning of all these things is are my sketchbooks, where I do very scribbly, messy stuff, which is kind of at my core, you know. That's what I really that's where it all began, you know.
Yeah. So your day job, effectively, you're been for the last 10 years or so, did you say you've done CGI? Have you done anything that viewers may have seen? Has your work been in any shows that people may know of?
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, I left Bournemouth Art College with a degree in set design, and went and straight away tried to find work, and it was probably the least efficient way of getting to where I wanted to get to. You know, I see other people just sort of like make a beeline for something and really get there. But eventually got a break, and my first job was fairly recently. Actually, the first job was something called AD, which was a sequel to quite a big show called The Bible, which some people might have heard of this thing called The Bible. But AD, that's it was a big hit in America, actually. Not such a big thing here, but the sequel, I worked on The Bible and AD as a concept artist. But I was just like so fresh then. I was kind of, if I knew then what I know now, I would have done I think I would have done some really cool work. But then, so just carried on working, doing set building and anything that I could in the art department. Worked at the BBC, and I got onto quite a few cool dramas in that one about George Best, which was amazing, and I went out to work in Belfast on that.
Yeah.
And then there was a children's show called Horrible Histories, which has always been which is actually quite a big player in children's TV.
Son loves that show. He loves that show, yeah.
And what else? So Doctor Who as well. Doctor Who was cool. I got a chance to do a bit of concept on that and storyboarding. Again, it's kind of early, so it was almost like apprenticeship. Those were actual work experience jobs. They were called a training scheme. So I was quite low down on the list there, but it was those were great and really amazing at kind of giving me more experience and insight into the industry. Then eventually, I had enough body of work behind me to start attacking some, offer my skills and services to other things and people, and eventually got onto a prequel for the Game of Thrones trilogy.
Okay. Oh, I think
trilogy series. And I think I want to say Star Wars trilogy, but yeah, no, I haven't worked on Star Wars yet. But the rambling, I'm sorry, the Game of Thrones prequel, HBO, for various reasons, pulled the plug on that. And so after I'd done maybe about 4 months of concept artwork on that, it sadly got the bullet. But with the work that I'd done, I went on to work on. I got a job on the BBC, the recent BBC Dracula, which was brilliant and a lovely art department, and then his Dark Material season 2. And I got a chance to do some cool, like some images of the Witches' Council and Shitgatsi and the actual subtle knife blade, which is a sort of key prop and one, the second part title of the book. So that was like, a dream job. And then the biggest job that I've done is Bridgerton.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 2. I worked on both the seasons there, and absolutely, without a doubt, the loveliest art department and some great kind of talent there as well. And worked with a really fantastic designer called Will Hughes Jones, and just all the members were just fantastic, and it was a really great experience. And I feel like I kind of became a better artist through that job as well, which was exciting for me. Yeah,
quite the body of work you've got there, quite the experience, and quite an impressive CV there. So with the art, so the art and the designing, I guess the concept artwork, I guess they both go hand in hand. But I'm wondering, did you start off with the concept art, or did you start off as an artist first and then kind of go into concept art? And if you did start off as an artist, what sparked your interest in art? Like, where did it all literally begin?
well, I think I was always into art first and foremost, but I decided quite early on that I wanted to make artwork that was kind of functional, had a very clear purpose in some industry, and that's why concept art became quite attractive. Really, I knew that it was going to be art that was going to sort of serve a very particular purpose.
Yeah.
All art serves a purpose, but it's sometimes a bit kind of blurry what it's doing out there in the world. But concept art is informing the art department what all these elements are going to be like, so that was exciting to me. Plus, it's a job where you get to design really cool things and illustrate them and make all the things come alive. However, I was into art first and foremost. Both my parents are artists, and my family are all artists. They're creative people. There's performance art in there. There's sculpture and poetry and writing, and they're all incredible. And I admire their work so much, and I wish that I could bring some kind of looseness and expression to my artwork that they have, that I've always admired and always felt quite envious of. So what I really am excited about is bringing that to Cryptosi, the stuff that I don't take to the film industry, the stuff from my sketchbooks and the stuff that I do in my which I call personal projects. But really, it's my artwork. That's what I feel about it. Yeah.
With the concept art, is it? I guess it's kind of like turning what would be a book into a movie. So you're the person who kind of brings the words to life with your concept art. Is that accurate?
Yeah, there's that's fair amount of accuracy with that. Yeah, you some people confuse it as storyboarding, which is where you break each shot into a comic strip, and
No, I it more as kind of not quite storyboarding, but more setting the scene. So probably well, I don't know if it does, but I would assume it would come before storyboarding. You're kind of saying, okay, this is where the world is now. You can write stories there. Another thing which just sprung to mind as you was talking was about having like family um, that family background within art and everybody being artists. And you hear stories about like the Nevilles or other families where the son has gone on to be a footballer because of the father was a footballer. Did you find within your own household growing up that the fact that all of your siblings and your parents were all artists kind of sharpened your art? Was it not to say competitive, but do you think that their creativity influenced your own creativity in some way?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think if there's a narrative running through all of our artwork, there's something about family and our upbringing that kind of ties it all together. And also, you just see what the others are doing. It just feels very kind of um, kind of essential and really kind of vibrant, and sort of seems to sort of, I just want to kind of like, it does. I don't want to feed off it. It kind of
Okay,
fills,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. I kind of it definitely influences my work. Although you'd probably never guess that looking at my siblings' artwork that I'm
Right.
you know
Okay.
a
So
sibling.
on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say the chances are that your son is going to become an artist?
um, I don't know. It's hard to say right now, but because he's just at a stage where he just wants to crawl on stuff and pull himself up. So at the moment, I'm just thinking rock climber. But
Okay.
but my daughter is she's really good at drawing already. And yeah, I mean, I don't say that lightly. I mean, she, and when I say good at what I mean, she really enjoys it, and and it's really lovely seeing what she creates, and it's all very considered and thought about, and there's actual things there, a scene that she builds, which is really inspiring. Actually, it's really lovely. Yeah.
Okay, so before we go on to looking at we're going to look at piece number one, which is called Orange and Blue. Um, I wanted to just quickly discuss with you about crypto, really. I know that you're not really from a technical background, but you've now decided to make the leap from the I guess the traditional art world, or even the what would you say, the
Traditional world or something, maybe, I don't
yeah,
know.
the
Yeah.
entertainment art world, because I
Oh yeah,
guess
yeah.
from concept art into now actual art, and NFT art.
Yeah.
What what would you say is the main thing that attracted you to start to produce your own NFTs? Or no, maybe attracted is the wrong word. What do you think is probably the best thing about being able to produce your own NFTs? What excites you about it the most?
Um, it's a way of bringing very personal ideas and things that I'm interested in, um, and putting those out there. Uh, with concept art, you're kind of you're obviously, you've got to take some text, some instruction, a brief, and fulfill that brief, and it's a great job, but it's not what it might not be what fascinates me or drives me. But with this opportunity to make some NFTs is really exciting, because I've got a backlog of personal projects, my own artwork, and they're already a digital format, and they were created digitally. And so it just for me, it just made sense that this stuff got kind of put into the river, and sent on its way, because it's just sitting there gathering digital dust, as I like to say. But it's sad, because it's important work to me. These are ideas that I really kind of stewed over, and projects that I labored over for a long time. There's other digital artists, NFT artists, who say this is the accumulation of 15 years of work. Well, it's the same for me. These are skills and projects and ideas that I've been mulling on for over a decade, so it's exciting, really exciting.
See, it kind of struck me as kind of like this whole NFT evolution, I'll say, has kind of given digital artists a level, maybe not level footing, but it's given them a decent platform to put their art against the art of, let's say, I don't know, traditional like canvas or paint artists. Because
Yeah.
the thing with digital art, I guess, was always that it would never be scarce previously. So someone could just obviously copy it and paste it. Whereas with NFTs, as we all know, that's not the case. I guess you can copy the image, but you can't copy ownership of it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like this is really an opportunity, or do you feel like previously, as a digital artist, it was the scene there wasn't as big as the paint art world or other art worlds? Do you feel that there was that kind of misalignment, which is now being kind of in some way helped by NFTs?
Yeah. I'm really interested to see what happens with all this, and I've been chatting with my family and other artists about
Mm.
this time really, and and one thing's become apparent is that the art world, the fine art world, won't be the first to strike, because they apparently take a very long time to decide on anything, and it's a very kind of set up structure, how they operate on fiat currencies, and the system, how it kind of rotates. So to kind of bring in cryptocurrency and NFTs it's not going to happen overnight. I do think that there is a divide between digital art and fine art. I think it just might be a lot to do with that the people that engage in digital art, and this is as far as I know, tend to want to create hyper realistic fantasy and sci-fi and surreal imagery, and that is what I'm seeing 90% of NFTs out there. It's something surreal. It's like what I do, something set in a kind of otherworldly environment with something weird as the main focus, and disjointed, subtracted, and kind of elements removed in kind of unrealistic ways. So what excites me is actually trying to, like many other artists out there, is trying to push something that isn't physically possible in the real world.
Yeah.
The traditional art world, fine art world, is I think saturated with artists who either want to create that tactility, that kind of feeling of oil paint or sculpture or clay and those traditional mediums, or are kind of into the concept behind their idea. So there's not necessarily skill and craft being at the forefront of the work. It's more about the idea and things, which I love as well. I'm all up for any of it really. I'd love a traditional landscape painting as much as I like to see a plastic bag on the floor, and which is always the kind of cliche example. And I'm really loving all this surreal stuff that's coming out in the NFT world. It'd be really great to see more variation with NFTs, but I can understand why all these artists are making, surreal stuff and almost, yeah.
It's still, I guess, in NFTs terms, it's still very, very early days, very early days. So I feel like artists like yourself are kind of just joining now and will bring in a higher caliber of artwork than we've previously seen in the NFT. Because currently it seems to me like NFTs are kind of governed by who has the biggest Twitter following and not much more than that kind of thing. So anybody can do any kind of work, any kind of digital work now. And not to say that the big NFT artists aren't good in their own right, but just to say that we've got a lot, and this happened in other areas of crypto as well, where people kind of entered and just capitalized on their following, because we still live in the attention economy. That's no different in crypto. So people kind of took advantage of that. But I think that's kind of toning down now, and we're getting a higher caliber of artists now showing up to say, okay, I'm ready to join this revolution. There's one last question I wanted to ask to you about crypto.
Yeah.
You could be as honest as you dare to be, but how difficult have you found it, picking up the tools that are required to use crypto, minting your own art pieces, finding your way around private keys and seed phrases and wallets and whatnot? Have you found that to be bearable, difficult? Halfway through, have you felt like quitting? You thought like this is too much hard work, or how's the journey been for you so far into our crypto world?
Yeah, it's been a huge research project, to be honest. It's quite inaccessible, but I
Yes.
think, but it's something, to be honest, that I've been trying to kind of attack in little moments of time that I've had spare. Today and yesterday, I just went for it. That's all I've done today and yesterday, and I've managed to do it in a day. So it's really not that bad. But I think a lot of it is just intimidating.
Yes.
I think there's so many debates on WhatsApp that I've had with family and friends about its relevance and what's it doing to the planet, and also who are the people behind it as well, and what are their intentions, and I've just had to put all that aside, because I've heard great arguments for and against it, and I just feel like it's in the early stages, and it will become more efficient, and it will be improved in many ways, and all these problem areas are going to be kind of tackled. And so I think it's going to be. I think it's an exciting time to be involved in it.
Well, just before we move on, I'm just going to load you up with some ammunition for these debates. So, when people do say to you, "Oh, it's damaging the planet," blah blah blah, if it's someone from the fine art world, if you compare the damage that shipping paint around the world does to the planet, or the damage that cutting down trees to make canvases does to the planet, or the damage that taking a payment even by credit card does to the planet, because remember, with crypto, it's all settled on the same layer. So when you sell your art, which is digitally done, the mining, which does require energy, is the equivalent to the energy that would be used in creating the paint, in shipping the paint, in creating the canvas, in shipping the canvas. And then once you take payment by credit card, in all of the computers that run those databases to manage that payment, and all of the machines that send that payment around, that would be the equivalent. And there's no chance,
Yeah.
not even a close equivalence, to say that the NFT art is doing as much damage to the environment as the fine art. So that's effectively the argument or the point that I put across when people say that about Bitcoin versus Visa, for example, as if Visa stands on its own when Bitcoin is literally the Federal Reserve, the high street bank, the money in your wallet, and the credit card and the processing machine, all of that stuff. So just that's some ammunition for you and anybody else watching when people start to say it's damaging the planet. It probably is, but it's far less than what we were doing previously. So it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, thank you for. Yeah, it's important just to know these things, and kind of. I just want to. I'm interested in all the facts, and it's new, and well, it's not that new, but it is relatively new, and I just think there's always light shone on the worst aspects of anything new.
Yes.
And then it's kind of it's going to be seen that way for a bit, but I think it's a really exciting time. Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump into art piece number one, which is called Orange and Blue. So, um, Lewis, talk to me about this piece. What does it mean? What's it about? Yeah, tell me about it.
So in this series of 8 images, they're all heavily influenced by a Jonathan Glazer film called Under the Skin, where Scarlett Johansson's character is sort of hunts down and preys on innocent men in the city of Glasgow, and she takes them home, takes them to her kind of lair, which is this strange kind of black infinity world, this could be like a web or a nest or there's lots of different theories about what it is, but that's where she consumes her victims, and it's a beautiful, incredible, intriguing, sinister image, and I've loved it, and so I wanted to do something with this kind of infinite void, and these figures. Each of the images has a figure in it that is being affected by some kind of power or object, or is made of a certain object or something. And so with this theme, I wanted to show you orange and blue because I just realized that orange and blue kind of feels a little bit unnatural. Maybe it should have been blue and orange, but maybe I think it works orange and blue because it's kind of a bit more awkward. But this theme of having something maybe kind of built of something, kind of, it feels like it shouldn't work, shouldn't be possible. So this organic shape, very recognizable female form, made up of rock, and also made up of something that is not my own design. That's a texture that I've found and layered over the surface of this female form, and not having control over that is something that excites me. Like where the crack's going to be laid, and what oddness might present itself when I'm not in control of this. I don't choose where each individual rock goes. I mean, there are ways you can do that, but I wasn't interested. I wanted to just wrap the texture around this character and see what happened, and so it's quite interesting that there are, bits that kind of pick out the form, and it gets a bit more dense over the face because there's more geometry over the face in the model, and so it gets more denser there, and then to kind of bring back a kind of feeling of my own traditional or digital artwork, the paint strokes. I wanted to then color those rocks in paint strokes. So there's kind of two things that are out of my control: the model of the female form, and then the texture on top of that, and then I'm basically creating a splashed kind of mess of paint strokes in another application, and then wrapping that on top of the model and just seeing what happens. And in this case, it kind of did this kind of banded thing, and then there are other iterations where it was kind of diagonal and vertical, and that one just kind of stuck. Everything was very immediate with this. It was quite the quick process, and funnily enough, it was the first piece I started in this series, and then after I'd labored over several other versions of this on this theme, I returned back to this figure, orange and blue, and went into it with a bit more detail and a bit more consideration, and not trying to pull away from that kind of very natural thing where I didn't really kind of know what I was going to get. And by the way, the kind of orange and blue, the marks in the background, which almost look like kind of some sort of like sunset lighting or something like that. Those are the images that I've rendered out and then I've brought back in and warped to be. So essentially, the coloration in the background is the image repeated and layered. So it's kind of like it's almost, it reminds me of when you see have two opposing mirrors and you see a kind of infinity thing. It's not like that, but it kind of has that feeling about it for me.
How many of these have you minted? How many are there, or how many will there be available? Have you decided on how many you're going to mint? Is it going to be like, I don't know, one of 500, one of 10? Have you decided how many? And
Not
if
yet
you have,
decided.
is what? Sorry.
I've not yet decided, but there are currently 8 that I've minted.
Right. Okay.
And because the gas fee is something that I'm going to be sometimes in, for the rest of this year and the next. Sometimes I'll be able to afford, and sometimes it won't be such a great month. It's just the nature of my job, my work, and everyone knows it's no kind of secret. The gas fees are pretty good.
Don't we know it yet?
If you're a traditional artist and you have a exhibition in a real world gallery, the fees and the overheads for making that happen, nothing's for free. So I'm totally okay with all of it. It's just we'll see how it goes. But I'd like to just keep this series going.
I meant was this particular image. So
Yeah.
let's say, for example, this particular image, you could have 50 of them.
Yeah.
Actual image, or you could have 1,000 of this actual image. So I'm going to assume by the answer you've given me that this is going to be a one of one. There's going to be one of these images available and one of each of the 8 images available. Is that about right?
One of each at the moment. Okay. If I'm honest, I was just getting through all the process of getting them, turning them into NFTs. So I'm going to think carefully about which ones I want to be singles and which ones I want to be editions, and there are a few that I kind of feel a bit more personal and like maybe required a bit more work to create, and I think those deserve to be singles, and the other ones I absolutely love all of them, but I think maybe some of them I think would work better as editions. Yeah, that's information that's probably gonna develop over time.
Yeah. It's a difficult process to go through, especially the first time when you're going through all of the things that Ethereum's throwing at you, for you then to be considering how many of these digital images you should be releasing. It's I don't envy you there, mate. I definitely don't envy you there. So there was something else I was going to ask you about this. What was I going to ask you? Oh, have you considered a price? Have you considered how much it goes for? Is that something that's asked in the fine art world? Do they ask artists, well, how much will you be selling this piece for? Is it something, or is it just when you turn up on the day, you see the price and like it or you lump it?
I think it's something that, well, I don't know. I don't know, but me and my partner really kind of have to consider this really carefully, because it's something that you want to reflect your feeling about the piece that you've created.
Yeah.
But you've also got to kind of play it strategically, so it's gonna not scare people off, and it'll be an attractive investment for any buyers out there. So I have to come in at a kind of mid-level. I'm not the biggest followed person on Twitter or Instagram, so I'm gonna have to try and suss it out and see where I stand in that. I'm at the moment, I feel like it's early days with this series, so I'm quite happy for these ones to sort of maybe be more affordable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, and see where it goes. You know.
Yeah. Well, when there was the very first NFTs, the very first group of NFTs were a bunch of NFTs called CryptoPunks, and they were actually given away for free. So
Yeah.
this was some years ago. They were just given away for free, and I feel like sometimes you don't need to collect on your first forays. You don't need to say, okay, well, this is my first one, so I want 100 grand or anything like that. You don't. I feel like you don't need to start that high. And these in time, because I also think it's not about how big your Twitter following is now. I think it's about how big people will predict your following to be in the future, especially when they're considering getting earlier pieces. So for me, if I'm looking through NFTs that I might buy, I'll think, oh, I think this person might be do well in the future. So I guess I would buy their pieces early, and then when people do like them and they say, "Okay, well, I want one of the early pieces," then they have to come to good old Cryptosi, and then I then I do my magic. So yeah, so
Yeah.
that's just something that I I
Well,
bear in mind.
I think actually, I mean, my siblings will know more about this, but I think that's, you know, there's people might say that that's how the real world art world works as well. You know, there's people will be kind of keeping an eye on the up and coming artists as well as the veterans.
Yeah. Okay. So I've got a question actually. This is just a random question that I thought I'd throw some random ones in. So this is the question. I'm going to ask it to all of the artists that decide to stop by and do these interviews. If you could share a bus ride with one artist, who would you choose to share it with, and why?
I was I wrote. I find it difficult to share a bus ride with anyone, to be honest. Making awkward conversation for it's like, come on. No, no, it made me think of all my favorite artists. I had to really think hard about this, but I kind of wrote a really long list, so I need to pick one.
You can only pick one. Yes, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't. It's not a. Well, it's a bus, but only a bus for you two. So let's say a taxi.
What I would love to do is just mention a group of artists that I have adored ever since. I think I got as a present this book, the Star Wars Archives, and it had all the kind of props and artwork that was made for the original Star Wars trilogy and the first 3 Indiana Jones films. And I coveted it, loved it, but the thing that really fascinated me were the matte paintings. They're called matte paintings. These amazingly detailed pictures that these incredible artists paint on glass that get filmed and combined with set pieces, with live action pieces on sets in studios. And then through quite a technical process, they combine those two images. So you'll have a glass picture, and you'll be able to see kind of areas where there's no painting, and you'll be able to see through. And that's where they project the live action footage. And so much of Star Wars, the original trilogy, and Indiana Jones, you're actually looking at a very amazing painting with an area cut out where you'll see the live action. And I think it's probably more noticeable now as we're more kind of tuned into incredibly crisp, polished, highly realistic CGI, and now you can really see the paintings. But I love that effect, and the 4 that I'll mention are Caroline Jet Green, Chris Evans, Michael Pangrazio, and Ralph McQuarrie, who is also the concept artist on the original Star Wars. All 4 of them, if we could have a party on the bus, that'd be incredible. I mean, I don't know. They might all be really, really boring people, but their artwork is absolutely incredible. So some of my favorites were some of the matte paintings of the Death Star. Whenever you see a TIE fighter or one of the shuttles flying towards or away from the Death Star, that's actually a painting. It's, on occasion it's a model, but the paintings were just like incredible. But if it has to be one artist, okay, sorry, I'll wrap this up.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
It's, I think the most influential was one, and maybe a bit of an obvious choice, is an artist called Sid Mead, and he is no longer with us, but he was the concept artist on Blade Runner, and that's how I got to know him. And he does these amazing paintings, illustrations of the futuristic LA city, and his drawings and draftsmanship, just incredible. Really, really amazing work. Go and check him out.
I noticed the running theme there. It seems to be sci-fi, and you did mention before that sci-fi seems to be quite a big influence. If you watch let's say you watch a sci-fi movie like, I don't know, let's say Avatar or something like that. Something which, to me anyway, it seems like a movie which doesn't have very many peers visually. There's not very many films that look like Avatar. Would you then, when the credits roll, watch the credits up until you get to see who the concept artist is, and then be like, okay, let me go and view what else that person, he or she, has done? Is that a thing you do? Because that's what
Yeah, guilty, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it just, I might not sit there and wait for those people to come. I have done, definitely, I do that. But you can find out who these people are on IMDb and come across their websites and Instagram, and people like post up stuff and say, this is an image I did X amount of years ago on this show. And you're like,
that's really interesting, because like I'll watch a movie and it'll be like one of these big budget movies, blah blah blah, and then at the end, like, the movie will be finished, and like, let's say the Marvel movies are the only ones where I'll watch the credits, but I'm not watching them. I'm kind of waiting until they show that last scene, which is like a teaser from the next film.
yeah.
And I've always kind of thought to myself, who even watches these things? Like, who wants to find out who that blah 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 person is? But now that I've spoken to you and I'm starting to understand the depth of the work that actually goes into it, and the amount of I guess care, love, and attention that goes into it, I'm now starting to realize why the credits are rolling for so long, because I guess all of these people do need a mention, because they're like these concept artists, I guess, shaped how Star Wars is. And if not for their great work, perhaps Star Wars would have been, I don't know, Battlestar Galactica or something, maybe not as influential in like modern society and so like our lives, I suppose. So yeah, it's just something I was just considering.
I was actually just looking at some concept artists from the new Star Wars films, and he's an amazing artist called Doug Chang, and he put a post up and said, "Oh, I coincidentally did a frame and illustration that is very similar to the composition of Ralph McQuarrie, and he mentions that he's doing it unconsciously, and I think any sci-fi fan out there is going to have the Star Wars aesthetic in their mind. That's what the future and what sci-fi and fantasy looks like to a lot of people. It's too difficult to move away from. No, they haven't done it better than that, really. That and Blade Runner and Alien, in my opinion.
Yeah, Alien's one of my favorite movies, actually. The second one is really.
Yeah.
So I guess you would have had a concept artist be the person who kind of, I guess, designed the alien ship, because there wasn't really an alien world, was there? There was kind of like this alien ship. Would that have been something that was designed by a concept artist, or would that have been designed by someone else?
Um, I think on different films, a concept artist has
Right.
a greater clout, and sometimes not so much. Sometimes they'll be brought in and they'll be dealing with kind of background dressing props. Sometimes it'll be a very kind of key prop that the main character holds, and sometimes it'll be incredibly integral, like the alien ship in Alien, and that that was designed either entirely or partly by an incredible artist called H.R. Geiger, who Ridley Scott found, and I think saw a picture of this kind of demon creature that he had drawn or painted, and so they got Geiger in to design the alien and the ships and the kind of the alien aesthetic, which is just iconic. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, it's so referenced and so copied and so
Yes, it is. Yeah.
influenced so many artists. It's kind of too hard to kind of bring it into work anymore. You know, it's just it's that thing. You know, yeah.
Oh, that's really, really incredible. But really, my eyes are being really opened by this. I want to move on to piece number 2 now, which is called Eruption. So I'm just going to jump us over and then bring you back. Yeah, so Eruption. Now that I understand more than I did about 8 minutes ago, tell me about, or tell us all about Eruption.
So this was what I thought the best example of a kind of additional theme in this series, which was to manipulate cloth in a 3D space, fabric, you know, and manipulate in a way and try and give it a material that was unrealistic, and see what kind of happy accidents occurred with it. But I knew I wanted to do lava. I was always interested in lava being kind of draped over someone, and so maybe just because I'm not the most gifted person in with this 3D software, which is called Blender, which is free and open source, and people are doing incredible stuff with it, and it is an incredible piece of software. But there are other 3D softwares, and I started using others before I went to Blender, but I now pretty much exclusively entirely use Blender, and it's a fantastic piece of software and really great for artists and ideation and getting stuff out there. Anyway, this character I wanted to drape cloth over in a certain way, and I couldn't figure out how to do it, so I had to turn the whole scene upside down and create a plane, and then manipulate the physics of the world so that this cloth kind of landed and draped itself over the character upside down, and then I flipped the whole thing up, and that's how you get this kind of explosive energy kind of coming out of nothing, you know, which is what which was really quite an interesting thing, and to explore this what you get given are parameters to affect the physics of the environment, and then you can just click play and watch this chaos happen. And sometimes I thought I wanted to just have something quite clean to show for this, and something quite dramatic, and something that people can kind of relate to. But the things that you can create of this by manipulating the physics of the world are just insane. They just, you know, because you have to have the right amount of geometry for it to behave itself, and if you don't, all these amazing fragments and kind of really jarring pieces of the thing you've got in the scene just suddenly kind of explode out, and that's actually always what interested me. But you know, it's that might be for another exhibition.
It's amazing. You've really come to life now. You're starting to really now we're speaking about the work that you've created. Your hands are going. You really come to life.
Sorry,
I was
I'm covered up my face, so I can't see myself. But I'm probably like,
yeah, but it's good. But it's no, it's really good. I was thinking with NFT, some of them are short videos. So with the the few seconds, I guess it would have been that created this particular image. Would you ever consider releasing that as an NFT as well? So instead of having just the still image, you could have the 4 seconds of uh, that eruption, that movement that comes to creating this particular image. Have you considered doing that as an NFT? Do you feel like once you've really gotten to grips with still images, you'll then start to tackle moving images with sound, etc., etc.?
yeah, definitely. I mean, funnily enough, I sent you some of the images and wanted your feedback, and you said, and actually, not only you, a couple of people said, kind of want to see them animated, you want to be able to look around them. And I came to the conclusion that I actually want them to be still images because it's the frozen forms that interest me. It's being able to look at something in a for that particular moment,
Yeah.
and it not being lost in an animation and motion. But and that's why, because they were created with the intention of being this frozen image, you know, like a kind of seeing a rock fall in a puddle and you seeing the strange patterns that happen in that moment. That's why I was interested in this series. But exploring animation for the first time because of being invited to Cryptosi has been really exciting, and seeing the things that can come out of the software, and also incorporating traditional media. So you can what I'm excited about is bringing in drawings, real sketches, pencil sketches, and real textures from out in the world, and bringing them into different applications and seeing which one, seeing what happens when you play them against each other and layer it all up. Yeah.
With this, what I really like is the texture of the explosive. I guess it well, I didn't initially realize it was a fabric. But you said it was like a fabric, like a cloth. Where did you find these textures? Are they things that you'd put together yourself, or have you had to scour until you found a texture that you really like, that you really want to go with?
Yeah, it's amazing, the community out there of 3D artists who share their or sell at very kind of decent prices their textures that they've created and material packs and things. So I have scoured the internet for the best looking one, and then I kind of got an idea of what they were all doing and their different approaches to getting that a similar result. And once I sort of discovered what the secret was, I could kind of play with it myself and create my own material. And it's a tricky one because it can be expressive. There are ways where you can draw it on, you know, and you could draw a mark, and that mark can become like a photorealistic lava flow. But I still wanted there to not. I didn't want to have that much control. I wanted to see what happened if I just threw things on, and so that is the case with this lava texture. But it's also, I have to tweak it with very, very fine kind of parameters. And so one little nudge in either direction gives you a very different result. So it was quite painful trying to kind of like, you know, find something that I wanted to stick with. Yeah.
Quite a personal question, this one, I guess. What I've noticed, as we've discussed both of these two pieces, is that there seems to be a common thing here, that you like to not have control, that you're not trying to micromanage every piece of every pixel. You're not trying to make sure everything is in exactly the right place. You're kind of, let's see where it lays. Is, as a person, are you the type of person who is that laid back, kind of like, okay, we'll just go with the flow, we'll see how it goes, and that is kind of reflected within your art? Or is it the opposite, that you're more of a I want to say perfectionist, or control, I don't want to say control freak, I use that word too often, but one of those people who really wants things to be just the way they are, and then your art is kind of like your escape from that side of your own personality? Or is it a mixture of both? Or is there no link at all?
Yeah, it's. I think I've. It's so difficult trying to get exactly what you want, that perfect result in the image, with a drawing, whether it's a drawing, Photoshop, 3D software. It's. I mean, sometimes it goes very well. Sometimes you just nail it straight away. Sometimes it will really, really work for me, and maybe there's not so much excitement there. There's
Okay.
uh, I think I quite like the challenge. I mean, it can go really awfully wrong sometimes, and my partner hates it, but I sometimes I'll be at my computer until 3 a.m. just trying to get something to work, and it just won't. And I think, although it's pretty unhealthy, I do quite love it. Really, it's the challenge, and something almost has to happen for you before I like abandon the project and just say, right, enough's enough. That will do. The thing about controlling the physics is really attractive, though. I mean, there's the 3D software really gives you ultimate control, though, in some respects, because you can bring any object into this environment and coat it with something completely unusual, and the materials and what they call shaders are getting so kind of realistic, and render times are becoming quicker. You can kind of really explore some interesting things where which just shouldn't exist and doesn't look right, and that interests me. I think I'm interested in knowing that the viewer knows what is wrong, what's artificial, and what doesn't make sense. And I don't want to hide that. Visual effects and CGI is so kind of concerned with making everything look super real. And I don't think there's a secret there that, some of the animations and costumes and special effects sequences from movies made in the 1970s look better than the CGI coming out today. So I think there's what we become accustomed to, and what is automatically seen as artificial is kind of blurry, and that sort of interests me, really.
Yeah. Right. So your entire personal portfolio, let's say your personal projects, as you called them earlier, which piece of art that you have created is the most important piece of art for you, and why?
Well, I think something I quite often remember, and I'd love to revisit it, is just a picture of stick men fighting with stick laser guns, with square backpacks on a lunar base. that I drew at our primary school, actually, in Stroud Green, and I feel like the viewers should know that we went to school together.
Like, I guess. Well, the thing is, we'll be broadcasting to people all around the world. So from the ages, let's say from our ages, I guess we were aged 4 until I think I left when I was 8.
Yeah.
I think I left when I was 8. So about 4 years we were together at lower school. Was that, I think what they call it up here? We called it infants, didn't we?
Infants, yeah.
I'm not sure, but you may have been in my. Were you at my nursery as well?
I don't know. I went to the nursery there at Stroud Green.
Right. Okay. No. So I went to a different nursery. I went to a nursery around the corner.
Oh,
But
no.
yeah. So and I guess whilst we're heading down memory lane, I do remember actually at school how amazing you were at drawing. And I remember, I bet you won't remember this, but I remember we done it was 1990, I guess the year was, and we'd all drawn these like block numbers of 199 and 0. Obviously, I couldn't draw mine, so I think you had to help me with mine. It was 1990, and then we would draw like it became like a comic book area, and we would draw little things around it that we could draw. So we would draw little birds or trees or bikes or things like that, spiders in spider webs hanging down and stuff like that. I don't think you probably won't remember that, but that's kind of like probably the last thing I drew between now. So it was probably not that great, but yeah, sorry.
I wonder if they keep those drawings.
Oh, I hope
however many years later. Yeah, I don't remember that particular thing, but I remember. I wanted to mention this, but I remember my first real feeling of drawing envy, like looking at another kid's drawing and just being like totally blown away. And there was a boy called Shari, and I think he was from the Far East, immigrated. I can't remember him being able to speak English, but his
he could draw
drawings were just like insane. He was drawing like actual 3-dimensional a digger. I just remember him drawing a digger and it looking like a digger, not just like a kind of gathered collection of shapes. And but yeah, I mean, I really specifically remember thinking, wow, that is what drawing can become. I mean, I don't know what the drawing was really like, but in my memory, it was just
amazing. Do you still get drawing envy or art envy? Do you still see some people's work and be like, wow, that's amazing, maybe I should just down tools and give up because I'll never be that good? Or is it now that you're a bit older, is it a bit more, or not even now that you're a bit older, because you said before it was kind of inspiring, or does it feel more inspiring than disheartening when you see some things that you think are really out of this world that you haven't made yourself?
Yeah, I mean, oh my God, I experience that on a daily basis. But I'm what I really kind of how I'm kind of managing those feelings is to kind of, that sounds really corny, but kind of sort of like approaching this whole experience with like appreciation, love, and just so when I see a really good piece of work, wear my heart on my sleeve and express it. And I've been a bit anti-Instagram for a few years, and just doing the odd little post here, like lifestyle stuff or whatever. But I'm now putting my art out there a lot more, and just seeing, whenever I see something, I make a point of not just clicking the heart, but actually saying something and being quite specific about what I like about it. But no, I follow some absolutely incredible artists, and it depends on my mood, but sometimes I can just like look at it and just feel like, this kind of like sinking feeling. But no, I think it's important to see what's out there, and not get too bogged down with what's out there. Just enjoy the process. You know, myself, you know, that's, you know, the get out of jail card of me is just put all the social media stuff away. I was thinking about it's interesting because normally I would see the artists in my close community. Now I can see, at a click of a button, I can see all the artists in the world.
Yeah,
and that is a kind of a very intense force coming out of your phone. It's like, you know, it's almost destructive at times, but it's also really inspiring and very helpful as well. So yeah, it's kind of bittersweet.
I went off on a tangent because you didn't get to finish it. You was halfway through describing your most important art piece. It was the stick men with these stick laser guns. You
Yeah.
didn't get to finish the story, if it was your art or someone else's art, or
Well, it was my drawing, and I just and in my mind, in my memory, I think I did loads of these. Like every time I got to pull out a piece of paper and a pencil, that's what I did. But maybe I just did it once. I really can't be sure about that. But what I can be sure is that I what's that?
I can remember it. So I think you probably did do them once, because when you started to say stick men with stick laser guns, I was thinking, I think I've seen you do that before. I think I remember these stick men fighting.
On like a lunar base, and I like doing the little craters and these just really simple kind of structures that they were all coming out of, and the lasers were represented by a kind of dashed line, you know. And I think it was probably just influenced by Star Wars or something, but it just made me really happy building up an entire scene with populated with lots of characters actually engaging in some sort of action. I thought I can really tell a story with this now. But drawing at school, I just thought, just to bookend it, at A levels, I should have been concentrating on my English literature and language classes, but I was at the back. Cartoons called Spencer's Mum, and that, the reason why I bring this up is because it was about the response that he got. I'd draw these pictures. I'd begin drawing this incredibly offensive, rude, and horrible, grotesque, monstrous character. That was my friend's mum, called Spencer, and he loved them. He collected all of them, and he even showed them to his mum, and his mum liked them. You know, they were well. The response that they got was, I draw them and I'd pass them down, and I'd have the whole back of the class giggling, you know, like naughty school kids, like at the back of the class, you know, and the teacher would just ignore us and just. But it just got such a fantastic response, and I really, you know, I think I really got off on that, and thought this could be something I can carry on. You know,
You've got to see if you can find him and find those images.
Yeah, I think my friend has still got them somewhere.
Yeah. Did you pass the English language and lit, or did you?
Not with flying colours, no.
Been called why I didn't pass my English language and lit. Okay, Lewis, what does the future hold for you? Where do you go from here? Do you see yourself moving more into NFTs, or is it something that you're going to keep as a hobby? What do you think the future holds for you?
I think my artwork is going to be kind of pushed. It's going to be prioritized now. You know, I will gladly and very happily keep engaging in the film industry in a concept artist context. But with my artwork, I'm going to push my own artwork, and I'm going to try and become affiliated with galleries in Dorset, and see if I can go further afield from there. NFTs is definitely an exciting way forward. But just as long as I'm creating and putting more artwork out there, it doesn't really matter what platform it is. I just want to make more work and come up with different ideas for series. This is really beautiful landscape around here, so that's going to be a big source of inspiration and content, I think. Yeah.
So if people wanted to find out more about you and your artwork, where can they go to find out more about you?
I'm really driving the Instagram thing at the moment, and I'm really enjoying that as a platform for a change. It's actually sparked off a lot of energy, and I'm trying out some different ideas, and it's quite a sort of simple way of getting your ideas out there. So my Instagram is Lewis CM Peake, and I'm also I've got my website as well, lewispeake.com, and I've also got a few short films on Vimeo, which is vimeo.com/Peake Productions, unoriginal, but it's there's a few short films on there that have done fairly well in the festival circuits. I'm really proud of them. They were really, really great fun to work on, and there's some really fantastic people that I worked with, and I'm hoping to do more of that, actually, some more filmmaking.
Where does films, because we haven't really spoken about your filmmaking at all today, where does the filmmaking rank in your in your in your order of, I guess, let's say, just in how much you love it? Is it up there with art? Is it slightly below art, or are they kind of how important is filmmaking to you?
I absolutely love filmmaking first and foremost, but I chose illustration and art as a way of getting into the film industry and pursuing that line. I've made 4 short films and been involved in various other film projects, and it's just been such a great process. It's something that just requires so much energy, and it's actually very, very stressful, as I'm sure any filmmaker will know. And it's just an incredible amount of logistics, just getting people to a certain place at a certain time with certain kit to do certain things. Is just like, you need really good professional minds at hand to help you get through that. And I'm just stewing on a few ideas at the moment, and but I want to get a local film community together here, and form a company and try and make some films.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Right, Lewis, thank you so much for donating your time this evening. It's getting quite late here, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much for donating your time. It's been honestly, it's been really fascinating. I'm not just saying that because you're here, but it's honestly been really fascinating for me, and I'm sure that anyone who's watched it and will feel the same. It's really been a great experience talking to you. I'm so excited to see your series when it does get launched in the first exhibition in the gallery. I think it's going to be really amazing, and I hope that as many people get to see it as possible. So yeah, so just thank you again for your time. Before I let you go, is there anything that that you wanted to talk about or discuss or let people know about?
Not really. I just go and check my work out, my website and my Instagram out, and it'll be I'll happy chat with anyone on the message boards there. I just really appreciate the invite. I'm really glad that you and I have connected after 30 plus years. I don't know what it is. I'm really enjoying this process. It's been really good talking with you, and I'm really looking forward to being part of a virtual gallery inside a really cool place. And this is my first proper exhibition for since I can remember, so it's really exciting time for me.
Excellent. Well, I'm super excited, and so yeah, so thanks for joining the project, and thanks for joining the gallery and choosing to display there. For the people who have watched, please like and subscribe and all that other good stuff, and share it so that we can get more eyes on this fabulous artwork, and yeah, just keep things going, keep building the community up, X, Y, and Z. So, Lewis, absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us. And I shall be speaking to you soon. So cheers. Oh, by the way, I'll put all the links for your website, Twitter, and Instagram and Vimeo
Yeah,
in the comments below. So anybody who is interested, now's your time to get down there and go off and have a good look. So Lewis, thank you very much.
thank you. That's
Cheers,
fun.
buddy.
Take care.